This video describes things you need to know when purchasing and installing a TRAFx G3 vehicle meter. The G3 is a magnetometer, which means it is basically a metal detector. Large metal objects passing near it will be detected and counted. Keep in mind that the closer you are to the meter, the less metal is needed to be detected and counted. For this reason, you want to avoid wearing cell phones or keys and avoid moving the meter when servicing or reading it. The TRAFx magnetometer has some advantages over other types of meters in that it requires very little physical effort to install. It can sit inside most existing metal enclosures or inside a plastic lockable box. It can be placed on the roadside, either on a post or buried below grade. Use caution if you decide to bury your TRAFx meter because most burial boxes are prone to flooding, and in spite of its water-resistant housing, the TRAFx usually sustains damage when submerged. The TRAFx vehicle meters also have some disadvantages over other types of meters. TRAFx meters have many settings which need to be adjusted when they're installed. This is important to note because the factory default settings do not work well in typical recreation traffic conditions. The key issue here is the delay setting. The default is too brief for slow-moving traffic, causing vehicles to increment the meter more than once. Also, the sensitivity or threshold settings need to be adjusted for road width and the distance between the magnetometer and the vehicles in the far lane. First, what to buy. When purchasing TRAFx meters, always buy the optional digital display. It costs an additional $50 but is well worth it. It makes it easier to test and configure, and you can collect the monthly meter data by simply looking at it. Without the display, you would need to connect the TRAFx shuttle to the meter to download the data, which also resets the meter to 0 every month. The first step in setting up a TRAFx magnetometer is to find a good location where it will operate properly. This means finding a spot that's not near a stop sign or places where traffic will slow down in front of it. You also want to find a location where visitation traffic is separated from other traffic such as operational Army Corps traffic. In some cases, you can use an existing housing to house the TRAFx magnetometer. However, it's best if the housing is not made of steel, because that inhibits the magnetometer's ability to detect metal. In this case, we're using a fiberglass housing, which works well, and even though we're affixing it to a steel pole, that will not inhibit its ability to detect vehicles. The next step in the process is to set up the TRAFx magnetometer for testing so that it can be configured properly in that environment. It's necessary to bring a laptop that has the TRAFx software installed on it, along with the cables and shuttle to the site, and connect them to the TRAFx magnetometer. Once you've got the TRAFx cables connected between the meter and the laptop, start the TRAFx communicator software and press the Go button. The initial screen shows 3 key pieces of information. First, it shows the name of the meter. If necessary, you can change it by pressing N. It also shows the voltage. In this case, it's 4.5 volts. Once it gets below 3.2 volts, you should change the batteries. Also shown here is the mode. In this case, it's VEH4D. You should use VEH4D for two-way roads and any one-way roads that might be very wide. It has the widest range
detection zone of the
available
TRAFx meter
on the
is
meter.
essentially circular. This means that you want to reliably detect vehicles in the far lane without making the detection zone too wide.
Press V to view the settings. In this case, the meter is set up with a period of 001. That's what you want all the time generally. The delay is 008. The threshold is 12 and the rate is fast. These are basically the default out-of-the-box settings. Keep in mind that these settings are not typically good for typical recreation area traffic, as the delay is generally too short and causes multiple counts. Before we change any of these settings,
We want to test it to see how well they work in this environment. Press T to enter test mode. Are the above settings okay? You say yes. Race records is no. And then after a few seconds, it'll display the current date and time. At that point, it means that it's currently ready to begin testing.
Meter increments,
and you can
a new
now
time
have a
stamp
vehicle
will
begin
appear on the
driving
screen.
by the meter.
In this case, it is incrementing 2 times for each vehicle pass, and that's not what we want. So we need to go back and make some changes.
Press Z 4 times to end the testing mode, and then press C to enter configuration mode. Right now it displays the current time. Press enter to keep that, and press enter again to keep the same start time since we're not starting the meter right now. Are the above settings correct? We say no. Confirm erase records, we also want to say no. Do we change the period? Press enter because we want to keep the same period, 001. Now we have the delay. 008 is too short, so type in 016. This will double the delay time. Now we have the threshold. We'll keep it at 012. If we had failed to detect a vehicle in the far lane, we could lower this number, but 008 is the lowest allowable setting in this mode. If the road were so wide that we were still missing vehicles in the far lane, you would need to move the meter closer to the road, change locations, or to like a narrower stretch of road, or set the meter to count in only one way. At this location, this would not be good because there's no center line in the road or a median to keep people from driving down the middle when there's no one coming the other way. Now we have the opportunity to change the rate. Currently it's fast. Let's press S to make that slow. Now, what that does is it changes the rate from fast to slow, which doubles the delay time again, so it's now 4 times what it was. It also extends the battery life, making it typically last more than a year. If traffic were traveling typically faster than 30 miles an hour, you would need to leave that as fast. But since here it does not do that, we will leave it as slow.